Should everything is good to go. So, welcome to my very first communications AMA. Ask me anything. Me, I'm getting some feedback here. So, one moment. There we go. All right. So if you are joining me in the Riverside chat or in the Riverside room, you can use the chat function to ask me questions. If you're joining me on LinkedIn, I've got that open as well. So you can post that in the comments, I believe, and we'll get to that. And if you're joining me on YouTube live, you can certainly ask me questions that way. And we'll get to those questions here in just a second. But I figured since this is the first one of these communications ask me anything sessions that I've done, I thought I would come with my own kind of topic that has been on my mind lately. Hopefully, maybe that kicks off the conversation, kicks off perhaps some questions. But ask me anything, as the name says, ask me anything that you would like to chat about, that you have questions about, and we'll address those here. Right now, the plan is to do this every other week and see how this goes. See if we can drum up some more folks visiting, and that we can provide some value here, and then we'll take it from there. So hope you enjoy it. Like I said, add questions as we go along here, and I'll be sure to address those. So making sure all the connections are good. All right. So the topic that I want to kick us off with today is the topic of ad hominem attacks. One of the worst ways that we show up in communication is with what's called an argumentum ad hominem. It is where we attack the human with our argument rather than the argument ourself. And to break it down a little bit, we see a big hairy issue, and of course, I'm not just talking about politics. We can even stay away from politics. We see an issue at work, or we come up against an issue or a problem at work, or in our relationships, perhaps with our significant others or friends, and we come to this point where we disagree. And what what we do is we attack the person and their character rather than directly attack or debate or uh, dissect the issue or the problem at hand. And this often comes across as name calling. It comes across as attacking the person's character and who they are as a person, not necessarily the issue that you both perhaps happen to disagree on. So it is a disastrous way that we show up in communication, in conversation. It is derailing to making any sort of progress because you yourself are not actually attacking the problem, while the person across the table or across the aisle from you or just across from you, rather than again debating the issue at hand, they have to fall into character defense. They have to fall into defending themselves as a person and as a human being rather than the ideas that they may or may not hold. Now, why does this happen? I believe that this often happens because we have this overwhelming sense of urgency to have an opinion about things that we don't actually care to have an opinion about or know enough about to have an opinion. So instead of attacking the issue, instead of addressing the issue, we attack the person because that feels like an in to getting our way rather to something that we disagree with, but we may not know why we disagree with that particular thing. So, in the absence of having enough information to have a discussion about the thing we're discussing, we attack the person. And this goes back to, again, our need or the expectation that we have an opinion about everything. And this is driven by a lot of things. Social media often gets blamed for this, that we all of a sudden become an expert in things that we don't have any sort of expertise or knowledge in, but because we see other people throwing their 2 cents in, we throw ours in as well, rather than and here's my point to all this, rather than using the phrase, "I don't know, but I'd like to explore it a little bit further. I don't know, but I've got some questions. On the surface, I disagree with this, but let's explore this a little bit more because I want to get a sense for why I disagree. It doesn't something seems off, and I'd like to explore it a little bit more. Not you're wrong, you're a bad person. You're wrong. You're just out to get me. You're wrong, and therefore morally you must be an evil person. I'm going to some extremes here, but this is often the undertone of a lot of our conversations when we employ ad hominem attacks. So my point to all of this is I would love effective communication is as much about what we don't say as what we do say. I would love to see more of us use the phrase "I don't know" and remove ourselves from a conversation about the actual issue first before and until we have enough information to come to the table with a sound argument about the issue, about the problem, about the challenge, rather than the person itself. Not that there aren't bad, evil people in the world. There certainly are, and there are there are instances where someone's ideas to an issue or a challenge is because of their character. We understand that. There's certainly nuance to all this. However, most of the time, what I find and what I see is that we are quick to jump in with an argument that we don't have a solid sense of how we actually feel about that particular issue or topic, and therefore aren't able to make a solid argument against or for what's being discussed. Hopefully that makes sense. That's on my mind this week, and I hope that that challenges you to take a step back a little bit more, to think a little bit more about how you show up in conversation, and like I said, the things you do and the things that you don't say. There is there is immense character built in saying, "I don't know, but I'd like to explore it further." And as the topic of my podcast, the follow-up question would imply, I think you should start with asking more questions. All right. So, uh, this is, like I said, and ask me anything. So I don't see that I have any questions yet. So this could be short and sweet, but I want to get the process of this going. So if you do have any questions, if you see this afterwards, please feel free to add them in the comments. I will respond to those. But I'd love to make this more of a thing where we get an audience in here and we have a conversation about what good, effective communication can look like. I plan to each week until needed, until necessary, I'll come with a topic in mind or in hand, and then we'll take it from there based on where the questions go. But um, I'm not going to sit here and just have some dead air. So I don't see anyone who's shown up yet. That's all right. I'm not too worried about it. This is all just about flexing that muscle and getting things going. So I'll call it at that. We'll say that this is the first live communications Ask Me Anything without asking me anything. And we'll go from there. So I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments. Feel free to, as always, reach out to me at michael at thefollowupquestion.com. Again, check me out on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and of course at michaelashford.com. Thanks so much, everyone. Go out there and communicate well, and we'll hope to see you on the next one of these with some questions in hand. Take care.